Do you remember when Andrew Dobson was good? I don't, and I've known him for 6 years. Maybe it's because when he got out of college all of his artistic drive completely evaporated, but maybe it's because he's lazy and he doesn't listen, and that's the moral of today's story. You can all go on home. Oh, there's still like 10 minutes. Okay, well, you might remember that a few days ago I posted up a song about Andrew tracing. Now, far be it from me to condemn anybody who traces who is under the age of 13, so that's just how you do some things. But for a 30-year-old man, it's pretty hilarious. What I didn't expect was the backlash, the hug boxing, and the general attitude of holier than thou. Yes, Andrew displayed that he could do what he should have done in the first place by actually referencing it on paper and not tracing it, but at least in my eyes, there is literally no evidence that he didn't trace it. And to Tom, it might seem like the point I wanted was that he could do it, which is crazy, because I know that he can do it. I just think he's fucking lazy! So after taking my stuff down, because let's face it, I wanted to see where niceness would go, he then proceeds to bitch about copyright law, as if he hasn't got copyright law completely wrong. Here's a thought: the guys editing your comics aren't actually doing anything other than editing them and then slapping them on places like Something Awful and Tumblr, anonymously. I'm gonna spell this out really slow so that you can understand. You listening? You are taking a Creative Commons licensed picture, referencing or tracing it, and then putting it in a picture to then sell for money, despite giving no credit to the original photographer. No, I don't care that you've done it now. Just like referencing Big Ben on paper, you didn't do it until prompted. The emphasis here is selling for money. Under the Creative Commons license on the picture of Big Ben, you also have to distribute your picture under the same attribution share-alike license, which means, if I'm correct, that the high-resolution image must be public domain, which makes seeing how much Big Ben is alike to the original pretty easy. But I mean, you could have just been not lazy and saved yourself a whole lot of trouble. The point is that you didn't. You didn't reference a picture on paper, put it into your artwork, and then correctly attribute the photographer upon release. You didn't stick with your original drawing of Big Ben, which is absolutely fine and was stylized to the rest of the picture. You didn't also do this for the TARDIS, which I could probably bring up, but the point is that it's pretty easy to focus on Big Ben because it sticks out like a sore thumb. So what? Big deal. Andrew Dobson doesn't understand the law. Who does? Well, a 30-year-old man who wants to make money off his art probably should. Do you guys get it yet? The reason Dobson's comics are shitty, the reason he's declined since his college days, the reason he goes to his fans for comfort and support, despite being a 30-year-old man who really should be independent as fuck at this point in his life and shouldn't need 13-year-olds to validate copyright infringement, it's because he's lazy. He doesn't learn shit, and he doesn't try his best. I could forgive him for absolutely everything else, even if he was a terrible artist, as long as he tried his best. But he doesn't. Andrew's admitted to being completely complacent, because improving your technical ability is fucking stupid. Despite most of Andrew's technical ability probably coming from his college years. Hell, there's even comics where he references the fact that he's been taught these things and that 6 years down the line, he's not putting them into practice. And guess what? It shows. Cherry pick your art all you like, Dobson. I've looked at enough hands of yours over the past 6 years to know that you've completely forgotten how to draw them since you were in college. And yet, you pass this eternal wisdom to your fan base like it's the truth. Don't improve your technical ability because you'll just do it subconsciously. Be an ideas guy, because that has always worked out for everyone. Fuck you, Dobson. When the popularity of your comics died down and when the people eventually get bored of you just being a really shitty artist and stop making things like this and redline comics and stop giving you advice on how not to break the law and how to improve your craft, when all of these things you've worked on over the past 14 years, like Alex the Pirate, don't take off because you've bastardized them beyond all comprehension, when Parental Floss eventually ends, and when SciAC eventually ends, and when you admit that you're completely fine being a mediocre and complacent artist, you will be back at square one when your peers are at square 20, and that is going to make you look like a washed-up hack. And your advice to these aspiring artists who look up to you is going to create a generation of washed-up hacks. So thanks for that, no competition for me. Despite your probable notion that no publicity is bad publicity, the people who are attracted to your comics because it is a source of hilarity over your culpable actions, opinions, and mistakes are not going to buy your comic books, nor generate ad revenue. They're probably not even viewing it on your site. Having a 12 to 15-year-old demographic does not mean that your opinions are highly viewed by the masses. Fuck it really doesn't. It means that they don't know any better, and they look up to you. So telling them that you should never concentrate on improving your technical ability or put it second best is farcical and a highly destructive thought in a young mind. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many artists and comics out there worse than Tom Preston's collection of festering 10-year-old ideas that are completely out of touch. And don't get me wrong, I actually really do think Dobson has some form of artistic talent, especially when his old animations were really decent. It begs the question of, I pick on Tom in the first place, it's just been me, you can pick on anyone, why would you pick on Tom? And the answer is astoundingly simple. Tom encompasses all of the things wrong with multiple comics and comic book artists and artists in one fell swoop. If you make a point about Tom Preston, you're probably also making a point about Least I Could Do, Moon Over June, or any comic under the Fresh Epics banner. No more so than Scandinavia and the World, which, bearing in mind this is written by a woman, features a comic where the punchline is rape. But because it's a shitty Italia ripoff, nobody seems to bring it up. If you want to make the others targets too, fair game. This is the internet. Prepare to get your shit kicked in if you somehow think that for a second you are immune to criticism, which Dobson obviously has believed for some time now. And there's so much more I could say on Andrew Dobson. How Danny and Spot was terrible, how most of his fresh and original ideas are either copies of things, One Piece, that are infinitely more popular because he has dollar signs in his eyes when he thought them up. How he inserts lesbianism into everything, despite it being completely wrong and polarizing and offensive. But here is the real kicker. Andrew Dobson has claimed that MCAD had the worst animation department ever, and that his degree is useless. Not a year before he left with his BFA in 2004, Andrew Chesworth entered the MCAD animation department in 2003 as a student. Granted, Andrew Chesworth's old animations were probably on the same level as Dobson's. And where has this useless degree and terrible animation department got him? Disney! Where you wanted to be, Dobson! And you only have yourself to blame! And that's why we hate you. In fact, in the past day or so, there has been an entirely new Tumblr made for you which hates you and has incredible insight into your mentality and failings, Mr. Dobson. This Tumblr is called whypeoplehatetompreston.tumblr.com. It is absolutely essential that you take all the information that you can get from this blog, as it may just help you tenfold in your growth as an artist. But fuck this! This rant is gonna flop as hard as Formera. Might as well just gripe about things you fucked up in a vain attempt that you fix them someday. Try to remember, Dobson. Think hard. Do you remember back in the day when Alex actually looked kinda like a dude, making the comments about her looking like a dude sort of appropriate and not bizarre because she now has quite visible breasts? Do you remember when people didn't line up the characters in Alex the Pirate and automatically assume that Peggy was the captain of the ship because of Alex's design change, and also because Peggy resembles the most stereotypical traits of a pirate captain? Do you remember when Alex the Pirate actually had a story and wasn't Garfield, but with wacky pirates doing wacky things? Okay, I don't actually think that ever happened. Remember when you said you wanted to tell interesting story? Oh, wait, that didn't happen either. Remember putting time and effort into things that weren't just fan art or commissions? Do you remember when your power went out and you made a comic that was more visually enticing because of your limitations? Remember when you didn't make a tutorial on how to use the paint bucket in Photoshop? Remember when you didn't write every single female to be stronger and wittier than their male counterparts? Remember when you wrote antagonists that weren't just rambling idiots? Remember when you wrote most major male roles as something other than downtrodden but has big aspirations? And do you remember when you drew characters who were blonde? Because you didn't have an irrational hatred of blonde hair, because you sort of think that people might think your characters are dumb for having blonde hair, which is actually just as contradictory as putting them in anyways. But more likely you just hate people with blonde hair in the first place because of your completely wrong views on the old Nintendo cartoons that didn't reflect the Japanese counterparts, or views of the designers since even Zelda 2, where the only reason the hair differentiates in the games is because of the limitations of the consoles, yet all of the promotional art shows them as blonde. Of course you don't remember! And this is where it's got you! This is what people think of you!
You know, I hear people say Jay-Z's got 99 problems, but I counted, he's got about 6. With Tom Preston, however, I've got about 1,004, and I rolled them all down, so here we go. Problem 1, eyeline. Problem 2, eyebrows. Problem 3, the self-depreciating humor that does nothing but highlight his own faults to those who would have been previously unaware of them. Problem 4, eyebrows. Problem 5, how he claims to be a supporter of LGBT rights and yet can be homophobic in the exact same battle that he defends them in.
Discounting the fucking transphobic art, discounting the fact that he's a complete prick. His fucking way he draws faces is absolutely obnoxious and horrible, and oh my god, fucking Tom Preston.
Problem 619, he's incapable of drawing consistent heights. Problem 620, he's incapable of drawing consistent backgrounds, even with the overuse of copy-paste. Problem 619, he's incapable of making consistent points, constantly contradicting earlier facts. Problem 620, he is constantly making simple artistic mistakes that no one with the art degree he has really should be making. Problem 621, he is incapable of consistent eyebrows.
The main reason I dislike Tom fucking Preston is the fact that he cannot take criticism, and instead attempts to make a mockery of those who are wanting to help him not be a fucking moron.
Not that I vehemently dislike Doggles, rather I enjoy monitoring his general bumblings around the internet, because it's a great thing to track if you feel like a bloody good lol. Like, the things he says sometimes that just get the Tumblr tag frothing at the mouth, and like the life choices he's made to get to this position in his life just fucking amuse me. I may or may not run a blog that superimposes his face onto a pretzel.
But of course, pink hair is perfectly fine. Problem number 7... Oh god, I'm starting to get blown up here. Problem number 723. Brushing off poor, lazy, or just plain bad anatomy on... It's a cartoon, it doesn't have to be realistic. Number 724. Drawing anime is bad apparently, but stealing ideas and characters from them? A-okay!
No matter how much hate we pour onto him, no matter how many times we try to no avail to give him advice, he's not going to change his ways. He's very much content with his number 2 pencil, his fill bucket, his use of straw man arguments to get his point across. That's where he's comfortable, and that's where he's going to stay. Oh, and also, as a fan of Parental Floss, their joint comic kind of makes me want to puke.
Problem number 804. He needs a writer. Problem 805. A writer that isn't Parental Floss. Problem 806. Eyebrows.
Tom Preston, I'd have to say he's like the king of strawman comics. I've literally never seen anybody output as much strawman comics as this guy.
Tom Preston is an artist who no longer shreds in his work. He refuses to take criticism and is gradually getting worse in art. As an artist who does not receive critique, I personally think it's unfair. The little things in his art, such as characters never properly making eye contact and eyebrows flying off the head, irk me a bit. He's unfunny as well. And he looks like Al McGuigan from Toy Story 2.
And it's not even that you're talentless or that you're not funny. It's just that you don't give a fuck. You have no respect for yourself or your peers or anything. Why?
Tom just wants to wallow in his own mediocrity. What kind of person doesn't want to improve in their own craft that they love? I don't find Tom Preston rage-inducing. I find Tom Preston to be a sad and pitiable man.
He's pretty much a case study in how you should not handle popularity. The guy is like, how old? Like 30 or something? And he acts like a fucking 13-year-old girl. He acts like a 13-year-old girl.
It's just proven and shown that this man can't handle popularity well.
So my hat's off to you, Andrew Dobson, for being literally one of the worst people on the internet. Congratulations.
Wow. What a send-off. Let's finalize this, shall we? On a personal and very, very final note, Mr. Dobson, you inspire me. There was an entire hour of those clips that I fought through. And it makes me want to be anything but you. I've known you for almost 6 years now. You've stayed the same. You've always been negative, always been unfunny. You've always been resilient to change. And, well, when your detractors get more attention than you hate it. There's so much left unsaid, and so much left unlooked. But you inspire me to better myself and my art form. You inspire me to go out and do something experimental and weird for the sake of trying something outside of my comfort zone to expand my knowledge and help me grow as an artist. You inspire me to keep trying to do the best at everything I love to do and always keep passion with what I do, because pouring my heart into something, even if it's shitty in the end, and even if people end up disliking it, it's always better than settling for complacency and knowing you've done a half-assed job because you didn't care. I never want to be you. Never. If all you do is serve as a warning to other artists about how to be the worst artist possible, you fucking nailed it. So very soon, Andrew, I might just shake your hand. I might just thank you. I might just thank you for everything you've ever done. But I'm still not gonna buy your shitty, lazily designed comics! Cheerio!
Problem 1002. Rude. Problem 1003. Rude. Problem 1004. Eyebrows. Yes! Yes!